Ideally, you're gonna wanna fuel early and often, probably around 200 calories per hour-ish. So make sure you know how long you're gonna be out there and then plan accordingly. Whew. Welcome to In the Flow. It's been a little bit of time since I last made a video. I apologize. So maybe I'll reintroduce myself for those of you who are new. My name is Jackson. I'm a sports nutritionist, endurance coach. I live in beautiful Sun Valley, Idaho. And today the plan is to do a little link up of two amazing peaks here in the Pioneer Mountain Range outside of Sun Valley, Cobb Peak and Hindman Peak. Hindman is the tallest in the range. So just cruising along, about 8 o'clock a.m., camped at the trailhead last night. Good times. It's a bit smoky and hazy from the fires, I think, in California. So we'll see how the lungs do. But today I want to talk a little bit about fueling for big mountain days, big days, running, cycling, skiing, how to eat, how to fuel and prepare so you can make the most of the adventure. So that's where I'm going. That's Cobb. About 11,500 feet. Good scramble to the top. So yeah, it's gonna be sweet. Okay, so tip number one for fueling long days in the mountains or whatever it is you do is to come prepared. So know your route, know how long it is, know how long it's going to take, how intense it's going to be, all of that, so you can plan ahead and make sure you bring enough water and food. And unless you're doing something super ultra light, you should bring more food and water than you think you need, because you never know, you know, especially if it's going to be hot and you sweat a lot. Bring like a water filter or something, but make sure you have plenty, because ideally you're going to want to fuel early and often, probably around 200 calories per hour-ish. So make sure you know how long you're going to be out there and then plan accordingly. Doing a little bit of off-trail navigation here, getting up over that ridge. Pretty sweet. Getting above tree line here on the slopes of Cobb. Tip number two is to come into these days very well fueled, very well hydrated. A lot of hype around fasted training and all of that. There's time and a place for that in the periodization of your training plan, but for these longer days, it just doesn't make sense. You're gonna lose a lot of quality by doing that, under fueling, and especially when you have a long day, maybe not a lot of access to water along the way. Starting the day very well hydrated is key. So having a good breakfast, a good dinner the night before, drinking lots of water, fluids, throughout the day, full day before, and the morning before you start. It's really important. Don't get behind on that stuff. Ooh. Okay, on the summit of Cobb, made it up here in a little over 2 hours, not bad. Pretty sweet climb, some good class 3, class 4 scrambling. You can see Old Heineman and Heineman over there, so gonna head over there next. But yeah, third and final tip for fueling in the mountains is to bring a variety of foods, kind of a mix of sweet and savory. I think a lot of athletes just go for the blocks and chews and goos and sports drink, all this sweet stuff that's like really kind of quick sugar to fuel, you know, harder workouts. But in these kind of longer days, it's good to bring like sandwiches and hummus and bagels and fruit, dried fruit, a mix of things, pretzels. Just since you're going to be out here for a while, it's good to mix up the palate so you don't get that kind of flavor fatigue. And you also want a little bit more of complex foods that are going to digest a little bit slower, empty out of the stomach a little bit slower, absorb a little bit slower, since you're not going at a very high intensity, relatively speaking. So you can just kind of sustain that fuel all day and kind of get that like 200 to 300 calories an hour sort of target. So I'm gonna eat some snacks up here, chill out for a bit, and then continue on with the journey. Definitely pretty smoky up here. All right, made it up to summit of Heineman, tallest peak in the Pioneers, just a tad over 12,000 feet. Yeah, pretty big day. I'm feeling it now. Okay, so just to recap and wrap this all up, since my camera died out there, 3 top tips for fueling long endurance training sessions. Tip number 1 is to come prepared, know your route, know where you're going, know how long it's going to take, and plan accordingly. Bring a little bit more food and water than you think you will need to. This just comes with experience, comes with time, understanding different environmental conditions, things like that. But always err, if you can, on the side of a little bit more than you think you'll need so you can properly fuel. Number 2 is to come into the day well fueled and well hydrated. So many athletes make the mistake of underfueling, underhydrating in the day or days before a big, long adventure. So treating it a little bit like a race, treating it like a serious endeavor, making sure you're drinking plenty of water, fluids in the day before, eating a well, solid, balanced, carbohydrate-rich meal the night before, and then having a solid breakfast the morning of will help you
kind of stave off that hunger and underfueling issues during the day, and you'll just be so much better off. Okay, final tip number 3 is to mix it up. Bring different kinds of foods, mix of sweet and savory. Since you're not like going at a full-on super hard effort, you don't need to be eating really quick, easily digestible foods. So in order to kind of make you feel good during the whole day, have some savory things. Bring a burrito or some sandwiches or different foods that are not just your typical blocks, gels, bars, things like that you might get tired of over the course of the day. There's nothing better than like a Summit sandwich, baked goods, chips, things like that, in addition to some of the more sweet options, and also bringing, the emergency gel or two to have in case things go bad. So mix it up, have a little bit of balance in there. It'll help the kind of, digestion go smoothly and slowly and keep you well fueled and on top of it all day in the mountains or wherever it may be. So thanks for watching. These are just a few tips. There's plenty more, but you just got to experiment. You got to build that experience, learn how to do it, and you'll be crushing it.